On our run up to the Matt Reeves The Batman, I am reviewing every live action solo Batman film. And today, we take a look at Batman Forever.
In an uncertain world, in a chaotic time, justice wears a mask. Courage now, truth always. Batman Forever.
If that sounds good to you, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel so that way you know when I post the rest of the reviews. With that said, let's jump right in. All right, Batman Forever came out in 1995, and it is not directed by Tim Burton. You see, after giving good old Timmy Burt's full creative control over the 92 Batman Returns, Warner Brothers had some regrets. Despite the fact that the movie made a fair chunk of change at the box office, it was most certainly not for kids, which caused some serious issues with advertisers, namely McDonald's. As such, when Burton showed up at the Warner Brothers office to chat about his third Batman flick, they hit him with the old, "Oh, yeah, you sure you want to do another one?" Bertie took the hint and hit up his homie Joel Schumacher to take over. At this point, Schumacher had been working in the industry as a director for a solid 20 years, and some of his work included movies like St. Elmo's Fire and the cult classic The Lost Boys. WB was looking for something more family and advertiser friendly, and Schumacher obliged. Once it came out that the movie was going in a new, lighter direction and that Burton would be stepping down as director, Michael Keaton decided that he no longer wanted to be a part of the franchise and was replaced with one Val Kilmer. Despite the change in tone, in director, and in lead, Michael Gough and Pat Hingle stuck around for this one, reprising their roles as Alfred and Commissioner Gordon, respectively. Adding to the roster was Nicole Kidman as Dr. Chase Meriden, basically a new blonde for Batman to get mixed up with. I'm noticing a trend. You also have Chris O'Donnell playing the 25-year-old teenage acrobat Robin, Jim Carrey joining in as the Riddler, and Tommy Lee Jones replacing Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face. All right, before we get into my more detailed thoughts about the movie, I'm gonna say something controversial. I kind of love this movie. Wait, don't click away. Let me explain. I have my reasons. You see, I feel like this movie gets a lot of unnecessary hate, and I understand why. Up to this point, we had a dark, serious, and adult version of the Batman, and this was far from that. But I honestly believe just because this movie is targeted at kids, just because it's lighter and even campier, doesn't mean it's a bad movie necessarily. Now, am I saying Batman Forever is a masterpiece? Of course not. Okay. Let's do this. Let's start with what I like about the movie. For one, this movie tells you right from the opening scene that it intends on being light, fun, and really a kid/family movie. And it maintains that vibe all the way through. The theme is consistent, honestly, unlike the prior two movies. It told you what to expect, and it stuck to it. Despite being primarily aimed at kids, the movie does sprinkle in some heavier scenes, particularly with what we see with Robin's arc. And because of that arc, the relationship that forms between Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson, as well as the relationship between Alfred and Bruce, as well as Alfred and Dick, they're fantastic. Honestly, Alfred is kind of the heart of this movie. Despite being super campy and over the top at times, the script is overall solid and well-paced. For coming in at just over 2 hours in length and for having as many moving parts and characters to juggle as this movie does, I never really felt that it dragged or was imbalanced in any way. A couple staples for a really good Batman movie are the villains and the action sequences. And hands down, honestly, not even close, the action in this movie is way better than the first two. Like, there's actual fight choreography. I know that sounds silly, but go back and watch the first two again. The fight scenes were whack. Now, as far as the villains are concerned, this is where we start to teeter-totter between my pros and cons. Jim Carrey as the Riddler was great. I know some people felt that he was over the top, but if you go back to the 1966 series, he is very clearly and very accurately playing that version of the Riddler. Again, the movie is meant to be campy, just like the 66 series, just with a more modern spin on it. Of course, in this movie, there were two baddies, and with Jim Carrey playing the wacky, zany side of the coin, you need a straight man to fill the other side. See what I did there? And that's where it went wrong. All right, the bad. TLJ, good old Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face. I don't know if it was the direction he received or if he just wanted to match Jim Carrey's frantic energy, but whatever he was doing did not work. He had a few moments through the movie where he played a more serious, menacing version of Two-Face, but more often than not, he would slip into this poor man's version of the Joker, which just did not fit. If he just toned it down a bit, it would have been so much better. Speaking of people that need to tone it down, Nicole Kidman's character, Dr. Meridian, fails the Bechdel test hard. I mean, I totally understand wanting to include a love interest, but this girl was thirsty. Like, sheesh. Relax, lady. Honestly, aside from those two, everybody else was pretty good. I could really get nitpicky and complain about, oh, I didn't like how they said this one specific line or how they emoted in this scene, but that's not really what this movie is about. It's a big, silly, fun, neon light blaring, rubber suit wearing comic book come to life. And at that, it's pretty great. All right, before we get into the 4K disc and the special features, if you enjoy this video, please click that little like button. It really helps the channel grow. Also, I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. For the month of March, I have a goal, and that is the big 200. I'm trying to hit 200 subscribers by the end of March. There, I said it. It's a long shot, but if you think you'd be down to join me on the journey, I would really appreciate the sub. As we have with the rest of the 80s to 90s Batman movies, I have the latest 2019 4K release. And I feel like with each movie so far, they get better and better as far as the picture and audio quality is concerned. Again, I am not an AV tech, so I'm not going to pretend to know enough to give you hyper specifics, but I will say this movie comes equipped with both 4K HDR and Dolby Atmos, and as such, it looks and sounds fantastic, especially with all the vivid neon lights and the heavy levels of contrast. Honestly, it's just fun to look at. Now, as far as the special features are concerned, once again, we are blessed with abundance. As with all the other films in the series, you have what I consider to be the bare minimum, which is a director commentary. Of course, this one is with Joel Schumacher, who I feel like was a pretty genuine dude. Rest in peace, Joel. I don't think there's anything that's going to blow you away with the commentary track, but it's still nice to go back and hear his thoughts on the film and the whole process. There's also a TV special that's called Riddle Me This, Why Is Batman Forever?, which is pretty fun. It's hosted by Chris O'Donnell, who plays Robin, and is basically a promotional giant commercial with some behind the scenes footage. Continuing from the prior two films, you have part 5 of Shadow of the Bat, the cinematic saga of the Dark Knight, reinventing the hero. More than just a ridiculously long title, this is a bit of a retrospective on the movie. You get the cast and the crew talking about how it was to work on the movie and why they made some of the choices they made. There's another pair of the heroes and the villains profile galleries, which is just a couple minutes on each of the characters in this movie. You've got another Beyond Batman featurette, which goes over a lot of the production design, stunts, visual effects, music. It's actually pretty cool if you're into the production process. Probably my favorite bit are the deleted scenes. There's quite a few, and they really show what the movie could have been. It's a lot of darker, more introspective scenes with Batman. Honestly, if it's out there, I would love to see a Schumacher cut. Finally, you get the usual theatrical trailer as well as a music video. This time, it is Kiss from a Rose by Seal, which is an absolute jam. What? It is. I'm not scared of you. And that's it. That is everything you get on the disc. Look, I know this movie gets a lot of hate, and I understand why. We just came off of these two super dark and gritty versions of the hero we all know and love, and then we get a Happy Meal toy of a movie. But as a child of the 90s, and as someone who tries not to take himself too seriously, I have a soft spot for this movie. And if you're in the same boat, I think it's something you should definitely pick up, if for nothing else, for nostalgia's sake. All right, that's it for me. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I would love to hear it. And if you want to see the rest of my Batman reviews leading up to the upcoming The Batman movie, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I also have a complete playlist right over here with all of my Blu-ray reviews if you want to check those out and maybe get some recommendations. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video. Same bat time, same bat channel. Be good.